It was a party for teenagers, and Addie felt out of place, even in his own home. Addie was only 12, but his older sister asked him to stick around. So he stuck around. It was a snowy December evening outside, and Addie longed to go coasting, as he called it. But the other party attendants were much too preoccupied with their own games and their own conversations. He would have to wait for another time. Then one of the older boys who'd been away at school noticed Addie, alone, staring gloomily out the window. "Say, Addie," he said, "I learned the manual of arms last semester." Addie's ears perked up. The manual of arms? That was what they did in the army drill, wasn't it? Would Addie like to see how it went? The older boy wanted to know. All they needed was a rifle. Well, Addie's folks had a .22 rifle in the hall closet. That would do. So Addie bought him the gun, and the boy gave a quick demonstration. Accounts of what happened next vary. After the older boy showed Addie the manual of arms, some say Addie was trying to imitate it. Others say he was about to put the rifle away. But one eyewitness swears that Addie took the gun from the other boy, pointed it at one of the girls, and pulled the trigger. The gun was loaded, and a young girl, Ruth Merwin, fell to the library floor, dead. Addie dropped the rifle, and his eyes widened to see blood pouring from Ruth's forehead. He turned on his heel and ran upstairs to his room, alone. The snow was still falling outside, more heavily now. One of the youngsters left to fetch Ruth Merwin's parents. Party was over. The aftermath was as curious as the incident was tragic. No one in Addie's family, so far as we know, ever mentioned Ruth Merwin's death. Addie himself would not speak of it until many years had passed. In fact, 3 weeks after the accident, Addie wrote his father a letter in which he mentions the Merwin family. But nowhere in that letter is there a trace of remorse, or even the slightest indication that anything had happened. Armchair psychologists like to theorize that Addie's later devotion to causes is traced back to guilt associated with the shattering occurrence in his childhood. This is probably a shallow interpretation of a complex personality. Still, Addie was haunted for the rest of his life by self-doubt and feelings of unworthiness. As a man, when honors were bestowed upon him by his peers, Addie would accept reluctantly, saying, "I should have preferred to hear those words uttered for a stronger, a wiser, a better man than myself." But honors would continue to be bestowed upon him, and Addie would continue to be plagued by vague melancholy feelings. It was not unusual for him to begin a letter to a friend with such a phrase as, "It's very late, and I'm popped up in bed, desolate, weary, harassed, and sad." So one gunshot on a long-past snowy December evening echoed throughout Addie's life, though his own wife would have to learn from a friend of this incident in her husband's childhood. Addie was always known as a gentleman, quiet, mild-mannered. Those who had not learned of that cryptic chapter in his life would have never associated Addie with violence of any kind. On the wings of a peaceful image, she rose to a revered position, came to be respected and admired, all the while turning a guilt-deafened ear to adulation. For the honor he would have preferred to see a better man receive was the Democratic presidential nomination of 1952. The man who lived his life for others, Addie, was Adlai Stevenson. And now you know the rest of the story.